Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Jarrell, and I hope that the making and the posting of these videos on the internet helps someone to come to realize that God is real. It had come to my attention over and over that there are so many people who say there is no evidence that God is real. I expect God has always had his witnesses in this earth. They just, most people don't want to listen. Or I don't know exactly why. I just know that we're not very well accepted in most realms. I had been in recovery for 16 years when this experience happened. And when I've tried to talk about it, most people say it was my imagination. But there are probably 300 witnesses to the fact that it really did happen. In 2006, I'm standing on my back porch thinking about how I'm going to handle a problem with one of my children. And I processed a very distinct thought. Probably about 10 or 15 seconds later, my cell phone rings. And the man on the other end of my phone said, "Jim, God tells me you are thinking this." And he quoted my thought word for word. I had never seen that happen before in my life. He followed that statement up with, "God wants you to come to our church. He has a purpose for you there. If you can tell me what I'm thinking, you can probably get my attention." So I went in and told my wife what had happened, and we decided we would go out to that church to see what this was all about. The following Sunday, we got in the car and drove 35 miles to this church. We must have passed 25 or 30 churches on the way there. When we got there and parked the car and walked into the building, I wish I had good words to say about how I felt the moment I crossed the threshold of that door. I can only tell you that a peace came upon me that I really cannot fully understand or put into good words. But it did happen. We went and sat down beside the guy who called me and his wife. We experienced the worship service, and then the pastor came up to speak. And he had been speaking about 15 minutes or so, and he stopped what he was doing. And he said God just spoke to him and said that he wanted to minister to someone here this morning. That's kind of new to me, but he had two chairs brought up in front of the church, and he had another couple who had been attending the church for a while come up and be ministered to. And then he came and stood in front of my wife and I. And he said, "You two are new here. Would you come to the front?" Had Neil not called me on the phone and told me what I was thinking, and then told me God wanted me to come to his church, I might have gotten up and left. But I figured we've gone this far. Let's see where this thing is really going. So we went up, sat down in the chairs, The pastor spoke to my wife for a few minutes, and then he came to me. And he said to me, God shows him that one of my legs is longer than the other, and that's why my back would not heal. There is no way in this world that that man knew that I had had back surgery in 2001. It had been 5 years, and my back would not heal. He said if I were willing to allow him to pray, lay hands on me and pray, that God would heal me that morning. I have to admit that I really didn't believe what he was telling me was true. But I had decided that I would see this thing all the way through. That man raised my feet up off the ground, and sure enough, my left leg was about a ½ inch shorter than my right leg. He laid his hands under my feet and began to pray. And I watched as my left leg grew out to meet my right leg. And then all of a sudden, this strange heat began to manifest itself in my lower back. That heat passed all the way down to my feet, and then it passed all the way back through my body to the top of my head. When it stopped, that pastor looked at me and he said, "You are going to feel so young when you get up out of this chair." I don't know how he knew that, but when I got up out of that chair, I was totally pain-free. I was wearing knee braces on both of my knees, and I had a copper bracelet on my arm that had 2 magnets in it. And I had enough ibuprofen in me to keep me from feeling pain. But I cannot explain to you how good I felt when I got up out of that chair. This is 2018, so it's been 12 years since that happened, and I am still pain-free to this day. Anyone can tell me that God didn't heal me that morning, but I got news for them. It happened in my own body, and no one can take that away from me. People say there is no evidence that God is real. I've got news for them. There are people like me who can express that. Whether it's accepted in other realms or not, I don't know. But I have heard there is no evidence long enough to where I am making these videos and posting them. I started attending this church every time the doors were open. And in my next few videos, I will tell you about what happened as time went on in that church. I was quite surprised to find out there was a whole lot more for me to learn. And I'll share those with you as long as I can. Until next time, my name is Jim Jarrell, and I will see you again.